The hidden strengths. Why Moon Jae-young and Eun-woo are more than just visuals. When the names Moon Ga-young and Eun-woo are mentioned, the first reaction from most audiences is predictable: they're beautiful. Moon's delicate features and expressive eyes, paired with Eun-woo's sculpted face genius reputation, have made them two of the most recognizable figures in the Korean entertainment industry. But to stop there, to see them only as visuals, is to miss the far more fascinating story beneath the surface. Both actors have lived under the weight of their looks. Moon Ga-young was often typecast as the sweet supporting character, someone too pretty to be taken seriously as a dramatic lead. Eun-woo, meanwhile, faced the harsher idol actor curse, with many dismissing him before he even stepped into a scene. And yet, what makes their journeys so compelling is not their beauty, but how they transcended it using depth, nuance, and perseverance to become performers who surprise audiences time and time again. This is the story of their hidden strengths, and why Moon Ga-young and Eun-woo are far more than just pretty faces. Moon Ga-young began her career at an age when most children were learning multiplication tables. Acting since she was 10, she grew up in front of the camera, but in a way that was often invisible. For child actors, there is an unspoken barrier. Audiences admire them, but rarely imagine them as future leads. They are remembered for the small roles that tug at the heartstrings, but when they grow up, they must fight twice as hard to be taken seriously. Moon Ga-young faced this battle head-on. In dramas like EXO Next Door, 2015, she was the wide-eyed girl next door, charming but not yet unforgettable. The industry didn't quite know what to do with her, too experienced to be a newcomer, too young to headline a serious project. But Moon persisted. She learned restraint, subtlety, and timing, becoming an actress whose power lies not in explosive performances but in the delicate ability to let her characters breathe. Her breakthrough came with Find Me in Your Memory, 2020, where she played Yo Ha-jin, a bright actress with a hidden wound. Ga-young layered her performance with a balance of lightness and sorrow, showing the world she could be a leading woman who carried both vulnerability and strength. Critics who had once brushed her aside began to see her depth. She wasn't just pretty, she was compelling. And then came true beauty. As Lim Joo-kyung, Moon Ga-young delivered a performance that was both hilarious and heartbreaking. She embodied the insecurity of a teenager hiding behind makeup, but also the resilience of a young woman learning to love herself. Joo-kyung wasn't a flat, beautiful girl role, she was flawed, relatable, and deeply human. And Moon made her unforgettable. What made Ga-young's portrayal remarkable wasn't the comedy or the romance, but the emotional beats in between. A glance in the mirror. A trembling lip when her bare face was exposed. The raw panic of losing her carefully constructed armor. These weren't glamorous moments, but they were the ones that stayed with viewers. Eun-woo, the idol who refused to be defined by his face. For Eun-woo, the challenge was different and perhaps more brutal. From his debut with ASTRO, his looks were a double-edged sword. Dubbed a face genius by the media, his beauty made him famous, but it also made him a target. The phrase idol actor in Korea is often followed by skepticism. For many, idols crossing into acting are accused of being wooden, shallow, and opportunistic. And when Eun-woo first appeared on screen, critics were quick to dismiss him as another pretty face cashing in on fame. But Eun-woo's secret weapon has always been his work ethic. Behind the perfectionist idol image lies someone who obsesses over improvement, who practices tirelessly, who studies scripts with an almost academic intensity. Slowly but surely, his persistence began to show. In My ID is Gangnam Beauty, 2018, Eun-woo took on Do Kyung-suk, a character who could have been nothing more than a cold, stoic archetype. Instead, Eun-woo infused him with vulnerability, a quiet pain from family trauma, an unspoken tenderness toward the female lead. He wasn't loud, but he was genuine. Audiences who expected stiffness were surprised to find nuance. Then came rookie historian Gu Ha-ryung, 2019. Here, Eun-woo stretched himself further, playing a lonely prince yearning for freedom and love. It was a role that demanded emotional layering, a boy trapped by duty, yet hopeful for more. And again, he surprised critics by showing he could carry both gravitas and charm. By the time true beauty arrived, Eun-woo had already proven his detractors wrong. As Lee Soo-ho, he brought a rawness to scenes of grief, guilt, and first love. His crying scenes, once doubted as impossible for an idol, resonated deeply with viewers. For many, it was the moment they realized Eun-woo wasn't just acting handsome. He was acting. What unites Moon Ga-young and Eun-woo is not just their pairing in True Beauty, but the fact that both were underestimated for the same reason, their looks. Moon Ga-young was too pretty to be more than a supporting role. Eun-woo was too handsome to be taken seriously as an actor. It's a strange irony that beauty, which opens doors in entertainment, can also create invisible walls. And yet, both fought against those walls in their own ways. For Moon, it was about depth, proving she could move hearts, not just decorate screens. For Eun-woo, it was about persistence, proving he could study, work, and grow into a true actor. Together, they symbolize the truth that beauty might be what draws audiences in, but it is talent that makes them stay. Neither Moon Ga-young nor Eun-woo are loud actors. They do not rely on grand gestures or melodramatic breakdowns. Instead, their strength lies in the subtle details, a pause, a glance, a micro-expression that reveals everything unsaid. When Moon Ga-young's Ju-kyung trembles before showing her bare face, the audience feels her fear without her needing to say a word. When Eun-woo's Soo-ho stiffens upon seeing an old photograph of his late friend, the silence speaks louder than dialogue. These subtle choices are what elevate them beyond visuals. They remind audiences that true acting isn't about showing everything, but about leaving space for viewers to feel it themselves. What makes them exciting is their ability to surprise. Every project brings something audiences didn't expect. For Moon Ga-young, it was her comedic timing in True Beauty. Who knew the once serious child actress could make millions laugh with slapstick facial expressions? For Eun-woo, it was his emotional depth in Rookie Historian. Who expected the face genius idol to deliver tears that felt so raw? They continue to evolve, challenging the idea that they've peaked. With each role, they peel back another layer, revealing that their beauty is the least interesting thing about them. Why audiences root for them? Part of the fascination with Moon Ga-young and Eun-woo is the sense of watching underdogs succeed even if they never looked like underdogs. Their stories prove that beauty can be a burden, that being underestimated hurts, and that growth is possible against the odds. Audiences root for them because they represent resilience. They remind us that no matter how others label us, we can define ourselves through perseverance and authenticity. When the spotlight first landed on Moon Ga-young and Eun-woo, audiences were quick to categorize them as the beautiful ones, faces meant to capture attention, posters meant to decorate walls, and names meant to trend in hashtags. Yet, as the years unfolded, their performances told a different story, one of grit, surprising emotional depth, and resilience against the shallow labels that once threatened to box them in. In Part 1, we explored how their initial roles began shaping their reputations and how early criticisms became fuel for growth. Now, let's dive deeper into the turning points, the unforgettable scenes, and the subtle strengths that reveal why these two stars have become much more than just visuals. It's easy to forget that Moon Ga-young's career didn't start with True Beauty. Long before that, she was memorizing scripts while juggling middle school exams. In her early projects, she often played the younger versions of heroines, a role that's sometimes forgotten once the spotlight shifts to the lead actress. But Moon refused to disappear into the background. One scene in particular, her portrayal of a young character grappling with grief in shadows in the palace, revealed raw vulnerability well beyond her years. That moment, brief as it was, planted a seed in viewers' minds. She wasn't just another child actress filling space, she was a talent in the making. Fast forward to Tempted, 2018. As Choi Soo-ji, Moon Ga-young shocked audiences with a layered performance, manipulative on the surface yet painfully fragile beneath. Critics noted that she didn't just play the role, she owned it. It was a breakout that proved she could carry complicated emotions and command the screen. But her true face of strength moment came with True Beauty. What could have easily been a shallow rom-com trope became a showcase of emotional honesty. The scene where Ju-kyung removes her makeup and sobs quietly in her room resonated with viewers worldwide. It wasn't just about physical beauty anymore. Moon reminded fans that insecurity is universal, and vulnerability is powerful. If Moon's struggle was to break away from child actor typecasting, Eun-woo's was to prove he was more than his nickname, face genius. When he debuted with ASTRO, Eun-woo's striking looks made him an instant sensation. Yet, that very gift became a burden. Netizens would quip, "He's only popular because of his face." Casting directors, too, seemed eager to capitalize on his charm rather than challenge his range. But then came My ID is Gangnam Beauty. Playing Do Kyung-suk, Eun-woo embodied a cold, aloof exterior that slowly unraveled into warmth and sincerity. His quiet stares, subtle expressions, and protective instincts drew audiences in. It was the first time many viewers admitted, he's not just a face, he can act. The true breakthrough, however, arrived with rookie historian Gu Ha-ryung. Here, Eun-woo carried a demanding role as Prince Daewon, a man torn between duty and desire, loneliness and love. One scene stands out, when the prince admits his fears of inadequacy, his voice trembling yet restrained, the audience felt every ounce of his conflict. It wasn't the prince's beauty that made people watch, it was Eun-woo's ability to humanize royalty. What makes Moon Ga-young and Cha Eun-woo's journeys so compelling is the unspoken parallel in their struggles. Both entered the industry under the shadow of labels, pretty child actress, face genius idol, and both fought against those labels with performances that demanded respect. They learned to embrace silence in their acting, letting a tear rolling down or a trembling voice do the heavy lifting. They discovered that sometimes less is more, and subtlety is more powerful than dramatics. Both stars also took risks in choosing roles that challenged the public perception of them. Moon could have comfortably stayed in light-hearted rom-coms after True Beauty but pursued deeper narratives. Eun-woo, instead of relying on idol-based dramas, chose historical fiction that tested his range. Moon Ga-young's mirror scene, True Beauty. When Ju-kyung stared into the mirror, trying to believe in her worth beyond makeup, fans worldwide felt seen. It wasn't just acting, it was advocacy for self-love. Sparkle's Cha Eun-woo's confession scene, Rookie historian. When Prince Daewon admitted his feelings with hesitation yet conviction, Eun-woo silenced critics who said he couldn't carry emotional weight. The moment felt less like scripted romance and more like lived experience. Moon Ga-young's fragile but fierce, tempted. Her portrayal of Suji's breakdown, torn between revenge and vulnerability, showcased emotional depth rarely expected from someone still considered new at the time. Cha Eun-woo's silent suffering, Gangnam Beauty. Without words, Eun-woo conveyed loneliness and longing with just a glance. It was the kind of subtle strength only actors who've lived with scrutiny could master. Moon and Eun-woo's hidden strengths lie not only in their acting but in their relatability. Audiences don't just see stars, they see themselves in the struggles these actors portray. Moon embodies the universal battle against self-doubt. Eun-woo represents the quiet strength of proving one's worth beyond superficial labels. In today's entertainment landscape, where visuals often overshadow substance, these two remind us that beauty may open doors, but it is depth that keeps the audience seated. Their resilience against being underestimated has become an inspiring narrative in itself. Looking forward, the dream of a reunion. Fans can't help but dream of what would happen if Moon Ga-young and Cha Eun-woo reunited on screen once again. Not just as high school sweethearts like in True Beauty, but in roles that demand complexity, perhaps as rivals in a legal thriller, or as star-crossed lovers in a period piece. Whatever the genre, one thing is certain, it would no longer be about two beautiful leads. It would be about two actors who have earned the right to be called artists. At first glance, Moon Ga-young and Cha Eun-woo might seem like the perfect definition of visual appeal in Korean entertainment. But dig deeper, and their true legacy begins to shine, the legacy of artists who were underestimated, yet rose above with hidden strengths, emotional intelligence, and fearless choices. Their stories remind us that every beautiful face hides battles, every gentle smile conceals effort, and every underestimated actor holds the potential to surprise us all. Moon Ga-young and Cha Eun-woo are not just visuals. They are proof that true artistry lies in the courage to be seen for who you really are.